Hey everybody, this is Heather Christie with the Evolve to Win show. And I'm wondering if the coronavirus scare has changed anything in your company, whether you've had travel restrictions, whether it's I've had a couple of clients already who have canceled meetings and events, and or even had a client last week. I was out facilitating a leadership retreat on Wednesday, and on Thursday they got the directive that all travel has been grounded until May 31st. So it's not just the unnecessary travel in some cases that's getting grounded. So I really believe that as we are facing some shift in the marketplace right now, unfortunately today there's been a lot of shift with the markets, right? But I know that there's shift in general in business, and travel is changing a bit. So whether it's international, unfortunately, there's a lot of domestic that's getting canceled as well. I want to really have a discussion about what you can do during this time to increase your use of video and actually shift the culture around video usage within your organizations. So I want to start off by sharing a quick story about video procrastination. I had a bad case of that a couple of years ago. So when I was faced with the idea of starting a YouTube channel and putting a lot of video out there, my husband Paul, who's my business partner, who's usually on the show with me, he's not available today, so he's not with me today. But he was on me constantly about getting on video. He kept saying, Heather, you've got to get on video. You're a speaker, you're a facilitator. People need to be able to see this. And I had every excuse in the book for why that wasn't going to happen. So back in the day, years ago, my top excuse was, well, we don't have a studio and I'm not going to put anything out there that doesn't look professional. So I'm not doing that. So until you get me a studio, you can just, put that to rest. So I had all these excuses. Well, one day, honestly, Paul comes into my office and he said, come here, I want to show you something. And he brought me into his office, which was on the other side of the house. And he had literally moved all of his furniture out of the office. He had set up a professional studio with the professional lighting and the backdrop screen and the professional camera and the tripod. I mean, it was literally a full-on studio, at which point I was horrified because that meant that I actually had lost my biggest excuse for not getting on video. I was not aware at the time that I was just using that as an excuse to rationalize my procrastination, because the truth was I really had no interest in being on video. I don't know if you can relate with me on this one, if you have that same, procrastination around video. But for me, I just didn't want it. I didn't want to put myself on video where that could be seen over and over again, and I could screw up majorly and that would be out there. But what was really, I think, going on at the basis is that I just wasn't comfortable. It was new for me. It was outside of my comfort zone, just the way public speaking used to be. I used to hate the thought of public speaking. And it's not till you get out there and start doing it that you start to develop this comfort level. So what I am suggesting right now is based on the fact that you're almost forced, as many of you are actually forced into having meetings that are not going to be face-to-face going forward. And yet your company has not yet adopted that culture of using video. Now is the opportunity, take it. And so here's what's true. There are going to be a lot of people just like me who are totally resistant to being on video. The opportunity is now to get them used to it, okay? And if you can actually start requiring people to be on video for some of these upcoming conference calls, instead of doing just the audio conference call, do the video conference call. There are a couple of things that are going to happen. I'm going to give you my top 3 reasons why I think this would be really, really beneficial for your company. Number 1, as a leader, I believe it's up to all of us as leaders to go for the highest level of engagement that we can possibly get from our teams. And one of the things we know about human beings is not all of us, in fact, most of us are not highly auditory, right? If you're to look at visual, auditory, and kinesthetic as the top 3, there's also olfactory, which is sense of smell, but I'm going to put that one aside for right now. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. It's how people take in information. And of the studies that I've read in the past, Visual and kinesthetic are about 40% of the population each. So visual is about 40% of the population. Kinesthetic is about 40% of the population. Auditory is only about 20% of the population. And by the way, for those of you saying, what's kinesthetic? That's when you learn best by doing, like actually touching and getting involved, engaged in a project. Okay. So there are visual learners and people like who engage very well visually. There are people who have to actually touch it and do it and work through a project, which is kinesthetic. And then there are people who are auditory, who can engage just by listening, and they don't have to see anything and they don't have to touch or feel anything. So if those statistics hold true, and we're talking 40% visual, 40% kinesthetic, and only 20% auditory, the only assumption you can make is that if you had to guess, that the person you're talking to is probably not highly auditory. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to get much higher levels of engagement as a leader by having that visual component. So have you ever been on a conference call before where you've been in a meeting and let's say there are multiple people on the conference call and all of a sudden you go to ask Jack a question and you're like, so Jack, what do you think about that? And then you hear nothing and you're like, oh, Jack must be muted. And then, so you're giving Jack another chance to pull himself back on the line. And all of a sudden Jack unmutes himself and he's like, oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muting. Just had to find the mute button. So tell me, what was that again? Like Jack wasn't even really on the conference call. This happens all the time where people hide behind conference calls. And what they're really doing is they're on email, they're having other conversations, they're doing their work during a conference call that they're meant to be in. So number one, as a leader, to get the highest levels of engagement, when you add the webcam, now you've got engagement, and albeit a little bit forced engagement, but if this is a meeting the person really needs to be on, now you can actually see whether they're tuned in to this meeting and they can be a much better participant for you. So that's the number one reason. The second reason that I think would be really valuable to use this opportunity of grounded travel and just changes in meeting schedules is because it will help you to get your team comfortable on camera. Now, I was just out a couple of weeks ago at a national sales conference doing a keynote. And I was having a conversation with one of the sales leaders. It was basically the national sales leader. And he said that they were just starting to use video as a strategy for their regional sales managers. So what I've seen happen with a number of clients that are national is that territories are changing. The geography is getting bigger, but the groups are coming together. Right. So you've got a sales manager who now has a larger geography and they've got all these sales reps who they've got to work with. And what they've done old school was drive. Okay, on Tuesday, I'm going to go to this part of the state. On Wednesday, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to get on a plane and go this. So they're all over the place so that they can do those face-to-face meetings. Well, what if you shifted that around a little bit and started using video and lining up these face-to-face meetings on video? Think about the efficiency that you can gain. Now, I'm not saying not to travel anymore. I'm not saying stop the travel. Clearly, some people have to right now because they've been grounded. But I'm saying in general, the opportunity to get your sales managers and your sales reps used to video right now is huge. Because if your sales reps are not used to video and you are in the type of industry where the sales reps could be talking to clients by video, think about this. I know that it sounds weird and you're going to say, oh, Heather, you don't know my industry. Our clients don't do video calls. Well, you know what? I didn't used to do video calls either. Now, everything I do is by video. And so what's going to start happening is more and more people are going to start using video. So let's just say that I call on one of my clients. I do this all the time right now. Instead of setting up a conference call for our initial meeting, I will say, hey, I'm going to send you a Zoom link. Do you have a webcam so that we could jump on and do a face-to-face? And there are many times where people say, oh, you know what? I think I might have one somewhere. And they'll ask me questions about how to use it. And I'll just walk them through that. But you think about the power of having your initial call by webcam. I just talked to a company that's looking for some executive coaching to really help with their client experience. And what was really cool is she was interviewing 5 different coaches to work with their company. And of those 5 coaches, I was the only one who set up a Zoom meeting. And I got to talk with her face to face. And what's interesting is she wasn't initially that comfortable on the webcam, but I took down her fears and said, look, I don't care what you've got going on. I don't care if you're in a baseball cap, a ponytail, whatever. Like, I just think it's great for us to just be able to connect with each other. So absolutely no pressure, no worries. If you're comfortable, I'd love to have you on face to face. If not, I'll come on anyway, just so you can see me. And that way you feel a little bit more comfortable and you get to know me a little bit. So get your team comfortable with video now. You don't know what the opportunity is going to be in the future. If you start positioning clients for that initial call to be on video, I'm telling you, for me, it has been extremely helpful in our business. The third reason that I think now is the time to get people on video is because I think that as you get this comfort level, as you get your team more comfortable with using video, you're going to find many, many different ways to use this and gain additional efficiency. More and more, I have seen major initiatives for cross-functional relationship building, right? The silos are still out there and they're out there big time. And I think part of the reason is because you have your departments geographically clumped together so that when departments are talking with each other, they tend to be talking with each other by phone or by email. And you know how often emails can get misconstrued, right? You see the words only, but you don't have that visual to see how somebody would otherwise position themselves, from their body language, right? So I think the opportunity to build your team, to build the collaboration within your team is unreal. So we have a client that we work with and we do quarterly strategic planning sessions with them. And we got them started on a monthly partnership Zoom call where we have like 5 of them. We look like the Brady Bunch okay, technology wise, we use Zoom for everything we do. Although I can't say that because I'm on StreamYard right now. We'll use what technology we need to use, right? But Zoom Enterprise is the system that we use most often. And I can put this in the comments or even ask Paul too. Paul, if you're on later on, can you just add that into the comments? So Zoom Enterprise, your pictures show up literally like the old Brady Bunch, right? And so we have our client that never ever used Zoom before. We asked everyone to go out and get themselves a webcam. You can get a webcam. So this webcam that I just got, let me see what the name of it is. It is called a Logitech C920 S as in Sam. And I'll also ask Paul to put that information on after the fact. You can get a great webcam. This one was $63, okay? And then you can get one for much less. And most laptops have a built-in webcam already, although sometimes they're going to be like way down here, and that's kind of a horror show. Like you'll feel more confident on video if your camera is right up here, at eye level. In any event, we had our clients all pick up webcams. So they all ordered them on Amazon and they came in and we did our first team meeting by webcam. And we got them used to every single month. We start our meetings on time. Everybody's there, sitting there on webcam. So what's crazy is a few months into this, they started using webcams for their meetings. So even when some of them were together in the building, they recognized the power of having that webcam there in case they needed to grab something in their office. And by the way, they have offices around the country. So to be able to have other people looped in is amazing. And you can record the sessions as well. So that's an added benefit in case somebody can't be there. So I could probably go on and on and on with a lot more reasons to take this opportunity to use video. I truly believe that the companies that are using video right now, they are at a strategic competitive advantage, not only from a collaboration perspective, getting the team more connected with each other, all the way down to the client-facing conversations. When you have a sales rep who has the ability to have an initial video as opposed to an initial phone call, it's incredible. But that only works when they're really comfortable on video. So I would love to hear your feedback. Are you currently using video in all that you do? What is your strategy to get your team together on video? And do you think that right now with this craziness going on and the travel being grounded in many cases with many companies, isn't this a great opportunity for you to get the team to do something that maybe is going to feel a little bit outside their comfort zone, but they're probably going to thank you for it going forward in the future. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, any questions that you have. I can engage after the fact, after this live video. And if you like this, please share it. Please share it on LinkedIn. This Evolve to Win show is a podcast that we've been doing for years now. So you can find it on your favorite podcast app, but we just started doing it on LinkedIn Live just recently when we were authorized to be on LinkedIn Live. So take every chance you can, get yourself on video, and I hope you have an awesome day today.